Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something with some upcycled vases. I've been going through my decor after we moved and found a lot of stuff that I was like, you know what? I don't really use this anymore. I don't really care for it. It's not really my style, or I'm just bored with it because I've had it for a while. I'm going to show you how I'm going to take these vases and I upcycle them, give them a little bit of a makeover, give them a fresh new look, and getting ready to decorate for spring. Let's get started. I'm not sure where this first vase came from. I feel like it may have actually come with an arrangement that either I received or someone else received and then they gave it to me. It is super, super lightweight. It's very deceiving in its look, but we're going to give it a makeover. I thought it'd be fun to have something much lighter in color. So my chalk paint was getting low. I'm really needing to do a restock. I'm using up a lot of stuff in this video. So I added a little bit of water, not much, just a tiny bit, to my white chalk paint. And then I'm also going to use some acrylic white paint as well, just because I wanted to use what I had and I wanted to make sure I could finish my project without having to run to the store. And then we're going to add in some baking soda, mess with that to have whatever thickness you want. We're going to just do that kind of like concrete almost look to it. I'm using a chippy brush. You can buy these at the Dollar Tree, and they just give a nice look. You'll see here. I'm going to give this a clean with some rubbing alcohol just to make sure there's nothing on this piece at all. That's just kind of a good way to give it a clean. And then I will say, we're going to just stipple this on. It's not messy, but with the baking soda and the stippling, little specks might go here and there. So I did cover my surface a little bit more than normal. I'm just going to leave it up for the future. I have a tablecloth underneath my silicone mat that I craft on, but just wanted to give that heads up. And I'm going to speed it up here, but I'm stippling it on. That helps add to the texture that the baking soda adds. And I would recommend for like the bottom of the vase, possibly just doing plain white paint and not the texture. That's your call. And you can go as far into the vase as you want based on how you think you will be styling it. And this did take 2 coats. It's going to just kind of depend, but you want to leave it on nice and thick. So it did take a little bit to dry. I did this and then ended up running to the store, doing a couple errands, well, one errand, and came home. I also did use my heat gun to help speed up the drying process at some point. You can also use a hairdryer at a low heat. This is a really simple way to give a piece a whole new look. Whether you're buying stuff at rummage sales or at the thrift store, or it's a hand-me-down, or for me, these are all pieces that I'm doing today that I just have had in my stash for a while. And I was getting ready to get rid of a bunch of stuff because I'm like, I don't need all of this. I don't like it as much as I used to, or I'm just bored with it. And I decided to just give them a facelift. So give that a good coat. And I did want to show you this, whether it's with baking soda or just paint maybe that you've poured out and mixed. If I'm in between coats and I know it's going to be a little while, I just take a piece of plastic wrap and gently press it in so that there's no air. And that also preserved my paintbrush as well as the paint. And I was able to come back a couple hours later and give the second coat. Here, the second coat is all dry, and it is important to seal your projects. I think a spray coat might be easier for this, but I'm going to use Mod Podge. I'm using a variety of Mod Podges because, once again, I'm trying to use up what I have. I need to go buy some new Mod Podge and some basic colors of like a chalk paint. I have plenty of acrylic paint, but we are going to give this a thick coat. You don't want to brush off the baking soda. The longer it sits, the harder it becomes, but I didn't wait that long anyway. So I just did a thick coat to get in all the nooks and crannies and just tried to brush gently and gave that a good coat and let that dry. Now I ended up using my hard coat Mod Podge at the end, which I think is really good to help protect it, but it is a glossy finish. I think I would have preferred a matte, but it's really just fine. And my final shot that I'm going to show you it isn't actually fully dry, but this is a nice large statement piece, and it looks like it's like a concrete type of material, a ceramic, and it's not. It's super lightweight. I need to locate my longer stems, which is what I would put in this vase to decorate with. So I'm just showing it to you while it's empty, but I love how this one came out. A super simple makeover. Up next, I have this little metal milk can, I think it would be, and I got this from Dollar General. I want to say they were originally $3, and I'm sure I paid less, probably less than $1 is my guess, but either way, it's just a couple of bucks. I found a little bit of hot glue, so I'm just picking that off. And this is really fun on its own, but I wanted to switch it up. I have this Serenity Blue paint by Rust-Oleum that I've had in my stash for a while, and I thought this is a really pretty spring color, but it's not over the top and can definitely be used, you know, more than just like spring into summer. And if it's your house color, you could obviously use it all the time, but you guys know that. You decide what you want in your decor. So we're going to give this I also did 2 coats of paint. Probably one would have been adequate, but we're going to paint all of it. I did not paint the bottom or any of the inside rim on this because I really liked the metal and that didn't bother me, but you do what works for you. Just be mindful when you have a piece like this that has those ridges. I found some more glue that I was picking off and then I'll touch it up. But as I was going up and down on the bottom portion here, then it gathered at that bottom rim or the top rim. So I just made sure to smooth it out, let the coats dry fully in between. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Leanne. I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs here. Sometimes that means Dollar Tree. It might mean thrift flips, or like today where I'm just doing some upcycling of some old decor pieces. But either way, I like to share budget-friendly decor on a budget, which is the key part there. And so I hope that you consider subscribing and sticking around. If you have not already subscribed, you can do so right now. So while I'm letting that dry, we're going to work on some embellishments. I have these transfers that someone gifted to me. These are some very, very large ones, but I was cutting them apart and a little portion of this flower was on another sheet. So I carefully cut them out, but you can use a printed paper, a pretty flowered scrapbook paper. It doesn't even have to be flowers. But if you don't have transfers, but Dollar Tree does have some, but you can use a calendar page, something out of a magazine. That might be tough because of the writing on the other side. Magazine. I don't know. But I'm just using a transfer, but you pick what you want to do. And I'm going to take a piece of brown craft paper. I have a roll of that from the Dollar Tree. I cut out a section the size I needed for my piece that we're using here. The first one I messed up on. I'm going to go back and fix it, but I got better at this. So I wanted the torn edge so that it wasn't a crisp cut line. And so I'm just using a little straight edge here to hold it down, and then you just lift it up and tear. It's easier if you have extra on the side that you're tearing, so I need to keep that in mind for the future. Making sure that the transfer will fit on it, make sure that it fits fine on the can. We're good to go. Well, I'm double checking. Now we are going to crumple it up, go for an aged look. I was trying to make a decision on what to do with this piece, and my friend Fabi at Arrows DIY reminded me of this. I've done things like this before, but sometimes I forget, which is why I like watching DIYs and talking to my DIY buddies. And I was like, yes, I love this on here. It just adds another dimension, another color, another added detail. So it did take a second to transfer this, possibly because I crumpled the paper, but once I got like the initial edge on, we're good. So you just peel it off and peel off the backing and then use a tool of some kind. Sometimes I use my fingernail to kind of just rub that transfer on. Slowly pick up the clear piece, and once you see it's transferring, you can move forward. And then on these ones, you want to take the top transfer sheet and just burnish it, rubbing it in to make sure it's all down. Now I want to age this a little bit more. You can't have a wrinkly brown paper and then a crisp image. That just doesn't work. So I'm almost done with this bottle of antique wax. I do already have a backup, but I'm using every last bit from this. Crafting on a budget means we don't waste anything. So I'm just using a stencil brush, dabbing it in the antique wax, then rubbing most of it off onto a paper towel. I'm going around the edges here, and then I'm going to go across the whole paper over the transfer. Not heavy on the transfer, but I did want to just kind of blend it in. Plus the two pieces where they met, there's actually a visible line, but I feel like that just kind of helped make it look aged too. So I don't know. You tell me, what do you think about that? But we're going to just continue to age this. And as I do the last rubbing across the whole thing and the image, I did go back in with a paper towel just to kind of buff that out. Now, I thought I was recording and I wasn't, But how I attached this was with a little bit of Mod Podge on the back of the paper. I didn't want Mod Podge on the whole can, so I put it on the back of the paper. It's okay if it's going to be wrinkly. The whole thing's wrinkly. And then I smoothed it out so that it had all of the grooves of the texture of the can coming through. And then I went with a little bit of that antique wax on the stencil brush and went over the can in various places, a little bit heavier on like any edges. So that's what I'm showing you here. So I missed the gluing part, but it's all right. For another little detail, I'm just taking some jute cord. I have a giant thing of this that I got at a thrift store. So I'll be using this for the rest of my life. But I just tied that around. It's a little bit thicker, but I did tie it around twice. And then I just tied it in a knot in the front and then trimmed off the edges. One thing I love, or the ends rather, I'm sorry. One thing I love about this piece is that I think it's a standalone piece, but it would also look pretty with florals. But once again, I need to locate since we moved not that long ago, all of those things. So I'm just showing it to you by itself. I love how this one came out. Let me know what you think. All right, this last one, this jar or vase, I believe came from Hobby Lobby on clearance. And I've had it and I've used it in various ways. And I'm just going to add a little something to it. This is a very minor little makeover. Once again, I'm going to start with cleaning this with some rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol evaporates and dries very quickly, so that's handy. And then I have some more transfers that someone gave me, and I was just trying to decide between the two of them, and it worked out because I could see it right through the glass, but I was also trying to make sure that it fit the way I wanted it to, and we're going to cut that one out, and we're just going to add a transfer to this, and then I'm going to share with you how I'm styling it. But this transfers really well on the glass. Most surfaces I feel like rub-on transfers work well on. And I'm not sure. I think in the future, if I wanted to take this off, I could take a straight edge and carefully scrape it off. I'm not really sure, but I like it. So, but I do think if I needed to change it up or wanted to change it up in the future, I could. I love doing DIYs because it allows me to change up my decor all the time without spending a bunch of money. So to me, that is one of the beauties and benefits of DIYs. I also think this would look just pretty by itself on a shelf, just as is, but for spring, I'm going to take some of these eggs and pour them in. That's all I'm doing. These are ones I picked up from Hobby Lobby on clearance. This one is so simple, but it's really pretty in my opinion. Take a look at the decor around you that maybe you're bored with, and instead of getting rid of it, see how you can give it a makeover and give it a brand new life. That's going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Say hello down in the comments. Let me know which one was your favorite, or just leave me an emoji to let me know you were here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.